And to take a look and to get insight into what's really going on in the US, we are trying to reach out to Dr. Panithan Wattanayakon, Chairman of Prime Minister's Security Advisory Committee. So if the line is ready, the team just let us know whether we can talk to him. And the situation in the US right now, international community are watching very closely, Khun Thepchai, how things will evolve, especially on the protest against the death of George Floyd. So from the death of George Floyd has become the fight for social equality, especially to fight against discrimination against Black people.
These are not a battlefront for President Trump, who is seeking re-election in November this year, right? So, of course, the other one is the coronavirus. So it's twin troubles that Trump is facing now. So the big question is how he will come through these two crises and be able to be confident enough, to go into the election, hoping to go back into the White House for a second term.
Yes. Okay. So right now we try to reach Dr. Panithan Wattanayakon. อาจารย์ Panithan คะ Hello.
Okay, there
Perhaps
seems
he
to be
cannot hear us yet.
some problem with the connections. Anyway, we keep trying, but
yes.
But of course, it would be interesting to listen to Dr. Panithan for his views on how he sees things from Thailand. Dr. Panithan, of course, a well-known academic, who is now working as the chairman of the Prime Minister's Security Advisory Committee, which certainly is a very important instrument in looking after the country's security issues.
Yeah, so he has to monitor the situation in the US quite closely, especially from the defense forces perspective, defense secretary, because right now the role of the defense forces and the defense secretary in the US are really crucial, because if President Trump decides to use Insurrection Act 1807, that means that military commander probably will have to comply in sending in the troops to quell the protest. That would be very controversial.
That would also entail a lot of troubles afterward, because that would mean blood spilled on the streets there, which is something that nobody wants to see.
Yes. Okay, so right now we are trying to connect with Dr. Panithan Wattanayakon, Chairman of Prime Minister's Security Advisory Committee. อาจารย์ Panithan, can you hear us?
Okay, not yet. Still, so keep trying.
Yes.
All right.
So it's been about 2 weeks already, Khun Thepchai, over George Floyd death, and we see how people still get onto the street to try to protest and voice their concern over social inequality, systematic racism. That's the term that people have been using to voice their concern of Black Lives Matter.
That's right. And in Thailand, a lot of people have been following the situation in the US very closely. And on the social media platforms, you would come across a wide range of views and perspectives on what is happening there. And of course, Trump, in the eyes of many Thais, is being seen as a villain in the sense that he has been very divisive, very provocative in his comments and his reaction to what is happening on the streets.
Yes. And this morning we have our exclusive interview with Dr. Kantati Suphamongkol, former foreign minister of Thailand, but right now he's a professor in the US university. And his view is very interesting. He said, right now the position or the situation of Donald Trump is even worse than the way he fought with COVID-19.
That's right, yeah. No, it's quite clear that his popularity, Trump's popularity, has suffered a lot first because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then the way he handles the situation with the demonstrations against racism. But of course, I mean, even the critics of Trump have to admit that the angry noises against Trump now do not mean that they will be translated into votes against him come election day in November, because what Trump has been doing with the pandemic and with the handling of the riots and the demonstration, his eye is on the election. So every measure he has taken and every word he speaks, I mean, is certainly designed to make sure that he makes some political gains from them.
That's why whenever Trump can have press conference, he tends to focus on economic impact and how he has created more jobs for people who have been losing jobs because of COVID-19. And right now we got signal that Dr. Panithan Wattanayagorn is ready to join us. สวัสดีค่ะ Good evening อาจารย์
สวัสดีครับคุณณัฐฐาครับคุณเทพชัยครับ Sorry for the inconvenience of connectivity.
Yeah, that's always a problem with online communication, Kun Panithan. So I know that the disappearance of Kun Vanchalerm Saksatsit is a matter to be handled by the police, right? But as the chairman of the Prime Minister's Security Advisory Committee, do you have any comments on what happened?
Well, I think the matters, of course, mainly focusing on the internal police activities and the case in Cambodia, a sovereign country. Mm-hmm. And I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Thailand, on behalf of the government and the Thai public, will coordinate with the Cambodian government as suggested by the spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry today. I think the focus is, of course, to make sure that his disappearance will be handled in the matters of effective, and the explanation could also be satisfied to the members of his family and others who are concerned about him. The Thai government is, of course, a duty to protect Thai citizens everywhere in the world. But we need to work with a sovereign country to make sure that they have their own laws, they have their own investigation. Only we can do is to coordinate and to make sure that the case proceed accordingly.
But of course, as you know, that Kun Vanchalerm is not the first Thai political activist who has gone into self-exile in neighboring countries and disappeared. And of course, there are people out there who believe that authorities in Thailand might have a hand in their disappearance. How would you respond to this kind of observation?
Well, of course, the Thai authority already made it clear that they are not involved. I think a government of Thailand or any government operating across the sovereign line in another country is very difficult. Kun Thepchai, Kun Nathai, you know very well. These operations we can see, from time to time from major countries, but normal countries, small countries like Thailand, like many of our neighbors, they don't have the capacity or they don't have the intention to do that. So I think, but of course, having said that, the facts will be investigated by the police in Cambodia, and of course, on the Thai side, we also look into the cases. He, of course, has some pending charges against him due to the political activities or due to the criminal activities relating to different charges. But these cases are need to be proved in court. The duty of the Thai government is, of course, to make sure that there is a transparent in these cases on our side.
And Ajahn Pranithan, regarding the state of emergency decree, do you think that it will be extended beyond the end of June?
Well, I think the evaluation is still ongoing. Limited, measures could be applied, after June, but what is going to be based on special power, a special decree, or a normal law regarding the transmitted diseases, that has to be decided. But it is for sure that the crisis is not over. The virus is still spreading by humans. We do not have a vaccine yet, and experiences from different countries suggest that once you open up a society, you have more infectious cases on the rise. So that need to be put together into the evaluation. But of course, in short, we are looking forward for a more normal society opening up in a new normal way. But some of these special power to be used specifically to control the viruses will be determined later. The public, on one hand, seem to be at least acceptable to use of these special power as long as it's confined to the containing of the viruses. On the other hand, of course, there are concerns raised about these special laws affecting freedom of movement, freedom of speech, or any other activities, including the curfew. So in the end, I think once we are approaching closer to the deadline of extending the emergency decree, the evaluation will be done and the Prime Minister will announce his decision.
Dr. Pranithan, we have not had local transmissions of the virus for the past 2 weeks now, right? But should this be way in favor of not prolonging the state of emergency?
Well, it's a good news. Of course, indeed, Thailand is now ranked among the top countries that are quite successful, in terms of handling the situation. But as you know, we are not out of the wood yet. Medical data suggested that in order to be more certain, at least almost a month period, you need to be certain that there is no new infected cases. So that is to be looked into 2 more weeks, perhaps, is a more critical factor for consideration. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you mean that if the next 2 weeks see no more local transmissions, then there's a higher possibility of the state of emergency being lifted?
Yes, of course, because if you have a month free of infection, there's less need to have a strict and special power to control the spreading. That's one factor. The second factor is, of course, you need to have supplemental orders or supplemental law in use. Now they're looking into this, including maybe a special order from the Prime Minister, from the Cabinet, to supplement the law relating to the healthcare. This can be done if the situation is under control within a month.
Yeah. And Dr. Pranithan, regarding the situation in the US, if you were the advisor to President Trump, what do you like to advise him to control the situation right now?
Well, it's difficult. To advise superpower, as you can see, world leaders. Some of them took many minutes in order to think of how to advise him. But we hope for the best for the United States to be able to put the simultaneous two crises under control, two crises. One is, of course, the pandemic. The second is, of course, the riots and the demonstration. I think United States is a model, or at least had been a model for many countries in the past in terms of handling these complicated situations. It seems that they have lost their way somewhat and are not able to bring together people of all sides to agree on the issues, on the two issues, of course. And of course, this is an election year for the United States. So things are very much more complicated than normal years. But I think what they really perhaps communicating to the public is the messages of hope, the messages of bringing people together, and messages of changes, for the better in the future. I think people may be losing hope and they are worried about their being. So this is very important for leadership to lead the way. On the ground, people may know what to do best. They protect their own families, they protect their own business, they interact with the local police accordingly. But as a nation, you need to bring everyone together in time of crisis like this.
But in terms of security, Professor Pranithan, what do you think President Trump should decide in order to send in the troops or not sending in the troops? And right now there is tension between White House and Defense Secretary, Defense Department.
Well, National Guard or regular military troops are not specifically trained to handle the situation. Also, as you know, in the US you have a history of National Guard shooting students. 6-7 students have lost their lives in 1960s and 70s, especially in the incident of the Kent State University. I studied at that university for 1 year in Ohio when National Guards opened fire 60, 70 rounds, live ammunition to the crowd of students. So since then there were a lot of changes to adjust the training of the National Guard, but still they are not trained specifically. So the issue is, of course, number one, you have to be very careful in bringing in regular soldiers, military or National Guards into handling the situation. Number two, of course, you need to control the messages in time of crisis to make sure that in the new era of social media, your message will not be twisted to ignite more flames. I think that's a second issue. Then third, of course, you need to bring in change, reforms for the people, so people can put their hope, their trust into this. This process will take a long time. I remember 20 years ago very well, Kun Thepachai, Kun Natcha. I was in the United States at that time. The verdict of Rodney King sparked the nationwide protest, and that's perhaps the last time that you saw the nationwide protest like this. But this time it's much more intense. So I think concerns are for the United States, especially our friends, American friends and Thai people and other people, in the United States to make sure that they're safe, and secondly, for the system to be able to absorb some of these very complicated matters. Unlike we never seen this kind of incident before for the past decades. So we hope the system will be able to handle that. And last, of course, the leadership matters on the ground. People who lead the demonstrations, people who lead the police forces, the governors, the civil rights movements and others, and the politicians in Washington, they need to come together to lead the way instead of letting people wandering around on the streets aimlessly, hopelessly, and allowing the looting and other to take place. So I think this is a very critical period for the United States to go through. And this is going to be a lesson learned for that country and for us all to handle some kind of this new phenomenon.
Trump has been trying very hard to portray himself as a president of law and order. But with the way he handles the anti-racism demonstrations, you think he is being seen by the general members of the public in America in that light, being a president of law and order?
Well, in this kind of situation, of course, you need to stress law and order, but that's not the only factor that we need to stress. I think the history of racism dated back for decades in the United States. We need to address that too. And then you need to address, of course, more specifically, the police brutality in this case and in other cases. It's not all of the police force, of course, but you need to address it specifically. He tried to do that, but somehow his message didn't come across quite well as compared to Joe Biden and others. This is why he's now losing more popularity significantly for the first time in the last few months. He was, in fact, the president was picking up some popularity due to the jobs gain in the last few weeks, but now it's dropping. So he needs to regain that if he wants to be a serious candidate toward the end of the year. So it's a very, very delicate situation for the United States at this time.
Now, as you know, that Trump is fighting a number of battlefronts, right? Domestically, I mean, big issues he is facing, but internationally, he has this China card that he has been playing. So you think he's going to get tougher with China as the election approaches?
Of course, I think that's the trend. Even him not coming back, if he doesn't win the election in November, the new president will have to adopt a more, perhaps intense, more serious policy toward China, because China is certainly on the rise. The battle, particularly among the vaccine issue, will be very complicated for the new president to handle. Who is going to produce it, who's going to deliver it, and how between the US and China, who will gain more friends in using this vaccine, for example, if the vaccine is successfully developed. And there are many other trade issues and many other serious issues at sea, like in South China Sea, North Korea, for the new president to handle. So in any case, I think the relationship will be very more complicated, ever more complicated and more intense. But of course, that confrontation with China can translate to some votes for President Trump if he handled this quite successfully. So it remains to be seen how he can play China card. I think China will remain a significant force and factor for the US politicians to handle and to decide for the years to come, until the US and China comes to terms with the rise of China and with the declining of the US power. So unless that time comes, I think you can see the tensions on the rise.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Pranithan, for joining us for English version. And we will get back to you again at about 8 o'clock for our Thai program, Than Lok with Thai PBS World. But say goodbye for now for Thai PBS World tonight.
Thank you.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you. สวัสดีครับ
And thank you very much for watching our program, Thai PBS World Tonight, our English news program from Thai PBS World. And we have to say goodbye for now.
All right. Go and say thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Keep safe.
Yes, and we will be back on Thai version, Than Lok with Thai PBS World at 8 o'clock. So if you like to join us, please join us.